Welcome, luxury enthusiasts, to the Luxury Travelers Podcast, hosted by Rodney George. The ultimate passport to opulent destinations, extravagant experiences, and unparalleled indulgence. Whether one is a seasoned jet setter or daydreaming of the next lavish getaway, the Luxury Travelers Podcast has it all covered. So buckle up and prepare for a journey into the lap of luxury. Now, your host.
Well, good morning, Michelle. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. I can't tell you what a difference that you and joining your organization of cruise planners 10 years ago this
10
month.
10 years already?
10 years. What a difference it's made in my life. There's a song about that somewhere.
Well, thank you. I am honored to be here.
We're just getting rolling on this thing, and you're my last official duty before I head to Augusta. But I do have on the CP green today, as well as the Masters green.
It's a good color. You know, it's luck, it's money, it's lots of good things.
All those things. You're probably the most traveled person that I personally know. And so I thought maybe for just a little while this morning, we could talk about some of the most fantastic places that you've had the privilege of traveling.
Yes. The world is, our oyster, as they say. And I just keep making, and, it's not a bucket list anymore. It's a to-do list, right? That's what we're all calling it. And, I'm just checking it off. And I just got back from Portugal just a few days ago off of a Talc River cruise. And what an amazing journey. River cruising is one of my favorite modes of transportation. I just love the way that it's, I love large ships as well, but this just gives a more intimate feeling. You're up close and personal with all of the little towns and cities that you visit. And I think you get a little bit more of an interesting take on how and where the ship is docking. You get to see how the people live. It's not so commercialized.
Right. I've done every river in Europe, every navigable river in Europe, and I think the Douro has it over them all. It's just so small and quaint, and you only travel during the day.
Right, which is, and the sights are just magnificent.
And the ship you were on, it's like being on a small yacht.
It is. I think there were 84 of us on board. And, the crew is attentive. It's like a floating hotel. That's how I describe it when people ask me, well, what is river cruising?
It's a floating hotel down a lazy river, seeing the sights, the history of the river. Think back with me for a minute. I want to come back to where you've been, but I skipped over something that I think is really important, and that is that Cruise Planners is celebrating something very major this year.
For sure.
And for the lady that started it all, tell us a little bit about that journey.
30 years. I can't even believe it. It's like, I think I just started this company. I went to sleep and I woke up 30 years later. But no, honestly, it's been a lot of hard work along the way because we've created a company that is very unique in the travel industry, and we're a franchise company. And people like yourself who are very successful in joining our company and creating, just space that is so unique and different. It makes me smile because 30 years ago, I had no idea that somebody like yourself could come on board and create such a successful franchise. We thought if people joined us and, they sold a certain amount, we would, when we got to 100 agents, we'd be, the biggest travel company out there. And come to find out, you all have taught me so much along the way in the past 30 years, just about business alone and, how, connections and relationships and, connecting in your communities that, you all have grown such amazing franchises.
Well, if 100 was your target, I'd have to say you overshot the runway.
I think we did. But I think what we did really uniquely is we created like a tribe, right? People that really love and are loyal to the company. We bleed green. Look at us. We're both wearing the color of Cruise Planners, which is green. And, just surrounding yourself with really great people just helps the company get to the position and the point where it is today.
Yeah, the people are really, really the
Yeah, they
key. I
are.
mean, when we came to Cruise Planners 10 years ago, we were really struggling to stay organized and stay on top of things. And when we saw the systems and just the whole
Right.
cohesiveness of the program that you offered, it was a
And I think
huge
that is
win
our
for us.
secret sauce, right? I look back and I like to say sitting at the top of the helm today is a lot nicer than it was 3 or 4 years ago during the pandemic. That was just an incredibly challenging time. And I think part of our secret sauce is that, we really look to hire smart people to help us develop a program and things that help all of you, the franchisees, grow their business. And that's what we do each and every day is come into the office. We don't sell travel from our home office. We look to all of you out there, boots on ground and making sure that you guys are the most well educated, that you've got the best tools and programs in the industry, and that we're out there negotiating and making sure that not only do you have all of that, but you got the best deals and promotions to offer to your clients.
Well, and you do that in
Mhm.
spades. I have to tell you, it's a real pleasure to wake up every morning and whether I wear my
Wow.
Cruise Planners green or not that
You
day, I
still
still
feel
bleed
it, right?
green. Yeah. You've been through some challenging times, and you mentioned
Yeah.
COVID, and I'm reminded of the phrase that tough times don't last forever, but tough people do. And you
Yeah.
proved just
That,
how
that,
tough
yeah,
you
that was
and
a tough
and
time for
everybody.
everybody in travel.
It really was, because we sat there for 18 months, literally
Yeah.
spinning our wheels, and just fingers crossed that cooler heads would prevail and that we would get back out there and travel. And what has happened since then
Oh,
for our business, and I'm sure
everybody's
yours
right.
is
And you're
just
sitting
it's
in
just
such a sweet spot because you focus on that luxury segment. And honestly, when the pandemic kind of started to ease and ships started to get back into the water and people started to get back on planes, the luxury segment kicked back into gear first and foremost. And, I know you even understand this when the cruise lines opened up a world cruise segment, it sold out within days. And I think it's
right.
just because people realized that we lost 2 years of our lives and, luxury segment tends to be a little bit more mature audience. And, we're getting up there in age. So we realized like you got to take the good times and you got to roll with them and you got to make sure if travel is something that's on your to-do list and you've got to do it. And it came back fast and furious, but that luxury segment, kind of drove us through there for some time.
If the 9/11 incident and COVID taught us one thing, it is that you don't postpone that incredible trip that you've
True.
been dreaming of, and you don't save the good bottle of
That's
wine
right. And you
anymore.
know what? The pent up demand honestly just became demand. And like I said, we've got to-do lists now instead of bucket list vacations. It's like people just want to get out there and they want to travel the world.
And in our case, they want to do it in style. I can
Yeah, you've
I mean,
you've got
the
a great
people.
segment to this market.
We have 8 agents in our agency, and we have 2 executive concierges that we've hired. And between us, we have over 200
Wow.
years of
Wow.
experience. So there's nowhere that people can talk about that we haven't been there, done
And
that.
that makes a difference. When people are buying travel, they want to know, they want you to tell them what they're supposed to do. When you get to this particular city, you need to eat at this restaurant. You need to see that site. Sometimes I travel and it's a lot of research to figure out what am I supposed to see when I get to this city? What are the highlights? What are those sites that, others have seen and come back raving about? We already know that. So we can set up, like yourself, you can set up, a very scripted itinerary to help people when they get to a particular place know what the best places are to see and do and eat and shop and all those things that people want to do when they get to a particular destination.
It's those little things that really make a difference in the fulfillment of a dream
That's right.
vacation. Speaking of dream vacations, you've done something I haven't been able to pull the trigger on yet, and that's
Oh
trekking
my
with the
gosh.
gorillas.
People ask me, what is the most unique thing you've ever done in your life? And that was it. We were going to South Africa on a safari. And there was a small group of us. And I said, I'm not going because I've already been before, unless you all take a side trip to Rwanda and trek gorilla with me. And 7 of us did it. And it was probably the highlight of my life. You hire these guides, you get on your boots and you get, a walking stick, and you hire a guide for like $15, and they help you walk through the jungle and trudge through the mud, and you're getting filthy dirty, and then you've got people who are hatching away at all the trees and the bushes to get you through, and you're walking for about an hour, and then all of a sudden you turn a corner and you say, oh my gosh, there they are. And it's just the silverbacks, and they're the mothers and the babies and their feet, and they're just in their own habitat, and they're just living their own little life, and you're extremely close. I mean, within a few feet, and they just go about their business. They're used to humans coming and visiting and watching them, and you could go and see them for about an hour, and then you come back, and it was just godlike. It was incredible, as is a safari. I really think, when the first time I got offered to go on a safari, I thought, oh, all right, I'll go. Well, I'm leaving in 2 weeks for my 4th safari. That's how much I like safaris. You've done that.
We actually, we were looking at some numbers the other day, and our Africa business is second only to Europe.
Yeah, it's one of those destinations that everybody has to experience.
Yeah, and then huge surprise, Antarctica is coming in a really close third right
I'm
now.
actually going to the Arctic this summer, so it will be my first, well, not my first expedition ship, because I did Galapagos, but to that area of the world. So I'm pretty excited about it.
You should be. Very few people ever get a chance to do that. And the Antarctica for us is the ability to check off that 7th continent.
I know. I'm going to have to do that at some point.
I'll bet you have some offers to people that want you to go with them.
Yeah.
You mentioned Galapagos, but you also have done an interesting trip. I have a group of clients that just got back from an extended 3-week trip to Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand, and I haven't had a chance to circle back with any of them yet and see how it went, but I know you've been there and done that as well.
Incredible people, very resilient. We know that, they went through a war, in the 70s and the 80s, and just the resiliency and how they've come back and what they've lived through it's just incredible. And it's a very unique place in the world. And it makes you realize when you come home what you have as a U.S. citizen or somebody who lives in the U.S. It makes you really proud and understand that, we are privileged.
We truly are. And privilege is kind of a word that I think should be used in conjunction with being associated with an organization like Cruise Planners. I do feel very privileged because it's a company that I think if you had a philosophy or you had a phrase, it would be always do the right thing.
Well, that's all we have in life, right? Is our integrity. And so you do the right thing and everything else follows.
It truly does. And I know that when you started this and you had a dream of, if we could only get to 100, but but it's like the old stagecoach, if I could only get another 2 horses out there. Well, now you've got thousands of horses out there. How do you manage a business that's had the growth that you've had?
Well, you do it carefully, that's for sure. But I think my little secret sauce there is that I hire the right people. Back in the day when we started the company, I just had to get bodies to fill seats, to answer phones. And I learned quickly over the years that if you have the wrong person in the wrong position, it kind of costs you more than spending a little bit more and having the right person in the right position, and they help you grow. And then when you hire those smart people, you have to listen to them. And, that sometimes is hard, but they vote me off the island at times. And they say, no, we can't do it that way. But, after 30 years, you just have to realize that, it could work more than one way, right? And you have to be open to change. You have to be open to, keep moving your business forward. And there's been so many changes, and we're going through another, tipping point right now with AI, artificial intelligence. And what are we going to do to keep ourselves at the front of all of that and not, have it replace us as agents, which I never think it will. I mean, it's basically gathering information that's already on the internet and putting it in one place. But people still want to hear from Rodney and hear where you've gone and what great restaurants you've eaten at and what sites you've seen and how you can make their trip that much more special than having a machine learned person, I guess you would call it, right? Spit out information, but you still have to figure out how to do it. So, we're much more about customer service than anything. And I don't think anything can replace that. But we have to make sure that we're still playing in that game, that our company still uses it so that we are at the top of our game.
You were forced to make a really important decision, a decision that probably changed all of our lives in a very positive way about, 18 months ago when you decided to join Signature Travel Network.
Yeah, so we joined a consortia, and I know it's hard to kind of grasp and understand, but in the travel industry, we're one of the big guys. We can stand on our own. We're going to get all the promotions and deals that, the biggest names in travel are getting because we are one of the biggest names in travel. But when we partner with a consortia, we kind of get to double dip, and that's good for you, Rodney. So every time Signature runs a promotion or deal, and let's say it's run for 2 weeks and it's the first 2 weeks of May, and then we select the last 2 weeks of May for cruise planners, in essence, Rodney, you as a cruise planners have 4 weeks of that promotion to run to, make sure that you're getting the word and marketing it out to all of your prospects and your customers.
Just how big is Signature?
Now, Signature has, I think, over 200 agencies, we being their number one, their biggest account. And, they have things in the luxury space, which also help yourself, and you can pass this along to your customer, like driver and guide. So on select sailings, it's typically on a luxury provider, they pull into a port and they get to choose which port they want a car and driver, and somebody will be there waiting, taking them on a private tour. So, those are things, and there's no extra cost. There could be additional, gratuities included or shipboard credits. These are all over and above what the promotion and deals are going on with a cruise line. So I always say, if you're booking direct, you're paying too much money. When you come through a travel advisor like you, Rodney, at Cruise Planners, we're constantly, going to each and every cruise line and tour company and trying to come up with different promotions and deals throughout the year so that you have a better rate or amenity or something to offer to your clients.
Michelle, there's probably not a day goes by that we don't prove that to our clients in spades. I mean, yesterday I had a client walk in and said, "Oh, I think we did something wrong over the weekend. We saw this cruise and we went ahead and booked it because we were afraid we couldn't get the room that we wanted. So we called up the cruise line, we claimed the booking." And I go, "It's a good thing you came in here this morning to tell me, because we were able to add $800 of shipboard credits that they weren't going to have by booking direct with the cruise line."
You will never get a less expensive price going direct.
And I think that's the big job as a travel advisor today, is to educate the consumer that we don't cost you anything. Correct. As a matter of fact, we're probably going to save you money, get you perks that you otherwise wouldn't even know about. I mean, they had no idea. And so they were happy as a lark. And we got a referral from them yesterday afternoon.
Awesome. So, we go out there and we gather space, and we're booking 18 months in advance. So today, our group department is going out and getting space on multiple different cruise lines. And if the price goes up, we've kind of froze the price at today's going rate. So sometimes over and above a shipboard credit of $700 or $800, we can also have a savings on board that could be $500. So clients can save a lot of money if they call again a cruise planner like yourself, Rodney, and just kind of check and say, if I go on this particular trip, what kind of offers do you have that you can pass along to me? And most of the time, like you're saying, we've got some great ones.
Well, it must be fun going to the bargaining table with some of these people, knowing that you carry a big hammer.
We do. And that's another thing. We're advocates. So when your clients are out there traveling and something happens, they pick up a phone and they call you, Rodney, and I know you answer at all hours of the night. And if something goes wrong, you call us, and then we call a cruise line president if we need to rectify things. I mean, most of the time we don't have to get to that level. But, even through the pandemic, our customers, they weren't the ones sitting on the phones for hours and hours and hours. We were. And then we were sending lists to our suppliers and vendors and saying, these people need to be refunded. Where's that? So we did all the legwork. Was not fun, but we did it. We did the right thing.
No, and we did it over and over and over again. Fun. We have chartered some new water with this executive concierge, and the clients are loving the extra attention that they're getting from those people. So that's something that we didn't know how it was going to work out to start with, but the clients love that extra touch.
Yes, and those are the reasons why they pick up the phone and they call you.
So what's new and exciting that you can tell us about this morning coming from cruise planners? I won't tell anybody else, I promise.
I keep reading in the travel newspapers and stuff that cruise lines are, out there. I think Norwegian Cruise Line Holding announced yesterday that it's building 8 new ships, and 2 of them will be on the Regent side and 2 will be on the Oceania side. That's right up your alley. So, and people love new, don't they? They like,
yes, they do.
New and exciting. So so with that investment, we know sitting in our chair that travel is back, and it's back better than ever. And those are the things we're looking forward to, is filling those ships and, making sure that customers are happy and getting just those little extra touches that cruise planners can bring to the table for them.
Yeah, I had Kim Gumaris, the Vice President of National Accounts for Abercrombie and Kenton, and Crystal's building 4 new ships, 2 regular ocean-going vessels and 2 expedition ships. So the cruise industry is thriving better, more so than
people that say maybe I'm not really a big ship cruiser, but now with river and expedition, there's different ways to travel today.
Well, and just how quaint was it last week when you were on that beautiful new ship of Taux on the Douro River? I mean, 84 people.
Great. And, on and off was easy. And there were no lines, you come on board, everybody knows your name. It was really charming.
We took a group on that ship last summer and just thoroughly enjoyed everything about that. So where are you going that's new and exciting? I mean, you mentioned the Arctic, but I'm sure you've got other things on the list.
This summer it's going to be really busy. I mean, I actually go to the Kentucky Derby the beginning of May, and then I go to Africa, and then the Arctic, and I don't know where else I have, but there's always little places that I pop up. But those are probably the biggest trips. And what about yourself? Where are you traveling to this summer?
Well, obviously headed to the Masters this afternoon. And we've got checking out a couple of new cruise ships. I mean, I haven't been on Atlas yet. I haven't been on Explorer Journeys yet. So we're checking out those ships this summer. And then we've got a big group, our Commodore's cruise coming up in July. And then we've got a group going to Antarctica in January. So we've got a lot of stuff going on, too. I try not to be in Naples. There's 2, I'm year-round in Naples, Florida now, and there's only 2 things I don't like about that, August and September.
You are right. Right now, it's beautiful. Right now, we have this is why you live here.
If you could bottle it and sell it, it would be priceless.
But we're excited about the future of travel. Again, it's on fire. We're having our best years ever. I mean, it's public knowledge. Last year we hit $1 billion. So we're doing it. We're out there. We've got, boots on ground, people, who are wanting to do travel. And what I'm hearing from a lot of our agents is like, I'm too busy. So many people want to go away. I have to hire more people. Like, you've doubled your business easily. since 2019.
Oh gosh, we did a triple over 2019 in 2022, and then last year we doubled the triple, and we're way ahead of last year. So it's off the
Right.
chart, and we have so many loyal
And you keep
clients.
adding people as well. And so I think people are starting to understand the value of using a travel advisor as well. We were not so popular before, the pandemic, and now we are extremely popular. We're the popular kids again because people, they get it. We can bring so much value to the table for them, and not only just in pricing and promotions and amenities, but also in customer service or being their advocate when they need one.
I had a client one time on a world cruise, and he called me and he said, we got here, but our luggage didn't. And so long story short, I worked day and night for a week trying to find out what the airline had done with his luggage, and they had delivered it to not even the same brand, a different cruise line, and their ship was, and the cruise line flew an employee to Rio to pick up their luggage and fly it to Ushuaia and hand it off to him. The client came, he called me and he goes, "You're not going to believe, we just got back from an excursion. You won't believe what's in our room." And I go, "I know what's in your room. Your luggage is there." And he goes, "Tell me how you did that." And I said, "I'll tell you when you get home." To be honest with you, I had no idea how I did it. The cruise line did it because they valued our relationship and they valued the relationship of that client.
Oh, that's great. And again, those are the little touches that need to be done, especially in the luxury segment. And I know you do that, and you do that well.
Well, if people that have that high standard of travel have expectations, and we try to not only live up to them, but exceed those on a daily basis, just like you do with your whole organization.
Well, I think people need to just sit down and put their to-do list together and then hand it off to you and say, here are the next 3 trips that we want to take, Rodney, and let you kind of decide or help them navigate through that. And we might have a special deal to Antarctica this year, and it could be like something that's a little bit better than if they wanted to go to Europe, and then you can do Europe next year when you can find some kind of a promotion or deal. So but they need to give you a list of what they want to do in the next couple years, 2-3 years, and let you have at it. And when because we actually, as have a tool inside of your system that you can add whatever trip somebody is looking to travel to, set a price, and when the price drops to that particular point, it will alert Rodney and say, okay, right. Now, so we don't have to double check and check because that would be somewhat impossible, but we can, put it into our system. And if you have a certain price that you're looking for, we can put it in there and wait until it drops. And if it doesn't, we can, reach out every few months and tell you where it's at. But those are the kind of things that we can do. And opposite, people always come up to me and say, "Michelle, when's the most perfect time to book a trip?" And I always say right now, because of the tools that we have within Cruise Planners, Rodney, you can book that trip. And if before final payment, that price drops, we alert you. And you alert your customers. Right. And I'm sure over the years, you've seen major savings at times where you can call somebody and say, okay, you booked 18 months ago. It is now 6 months prior to your trip. And that price came down $500 a person that I can offer you. I just got an alert on it. So we have those kind of tools that help you and your organization, your group.
Right.
And we do the right thing. We make sure our customers get the best price possible.
We have a client who's a big time. She's big time on the speaking circuit. As a matter of fact, we probably should have her at one of our meetings sometime. She's awesome. She's got a couple of TED Talks. One of them, I guarantee you'll go through half a box of Kleenex just watching it. But she says, "I'm sick and tired of people calling it a bucket list. A bucket list is a list of stuff to do before you die. I call it the experience list." And you hit on it. She goes, for example, I don't want to go to the Kentucky Derby. She goes, I want to sip mint juleps while sitting on Millionaire's Row with an outrageous hat on my head with the person that I love most in the whole world. That's an experience,
Except
right?
for I don't like mint juleps. Yeah. I tried them. They're not my thing. My thing. But
okay.
I'm going to have a blast. I went to the Derby last year and it was so much fun. We're going back because it's the 150th anniversary.
I have an old friend who's a gerontologist, and I'll close with this. He wrote a bit of prose a number of years ago. It's not really a poem, but the name of it is Enjoy Yourself. It's later than you think. And that's kind of a philosophy that we operate with our clients. You should be enjoying yourself. And if you're not enjoying it with your children and your grandchildren and creating memories to last a lifetime, big mistake.
Totally.
Don't pay off their Visa or their MasterCard. Take them on a great vacation.
I agree. Get that to-do list going right now.
Michelle, I so appreciate you I know how busy you are, and you've taken 35 minutes of your day to spend here with us this morning.
Always for you, Rodney.
And I really appreciate it so much, so much.
Thank you.
Have a great time at the Derby.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us on the Luxury Travelers Podcast. For more information, head on over to luxurytravelerspodcast.com to connect with our team or leave us a message. Until next time, safe travels and savor the extraordinary.